Welcome back. As India celebrates Republic Day on its 75th anniversary of independence from British colonial rule, that same imperial power has now come searching for a trade deal with India. Considering this reversal, what does the future hold for the country that is expected to be the second largest economy in 2030? And has the coronavirus pandemic slowed down India's rising power? Joining me now from New Delhi is India's former Law and Justice Minister and Rajya Sabha MP in India's ruling BJP party, Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Thank you so much, Subramanian, for coming back on. I want to get to recent events in a moment, but obviously you've been tweeting a stream of information to your 11 million followers on Twitter about Netaji Subhas Bose. Why have we never heard of this man, and who was this man?
Well, you're of a different generation. The generation which was contemporary in the 40s heard of nobody else but him. He was president of the Congress Party, a man who sacrificed his very flourishing career of being a civil servant in the top service called the ICS. And he came into the freedom movement and he excited all the people. He had a theory that Gandhi is great in creating an organization, but his utter and total nonviolence is not going to drive the British out. So he wanted a mixture. There was a revolt in the Congress Party about that. And so he quit the Congress Party. And then ultimately, when the war was declared, the World War was declared, he went abroad. He first tried to persuade the Soviet Union to help him, but then by then Stalin had decided to make up with the Western world. He broke his alliance with Hitler. And so he went from Moscow to Germany, and there he tried to persuade Hitler to help him in his liberation of India. But Hitler was seen to be more interested in the Middle East, and also he thought that the Indians need to be ruled and that it shouldn't be given independence. And then he said, okay, put me on a submarine and send me to the Indian Ocean, and from there I'll go to Japan. And that's how he ended up in Singapore. And he created an army out of those who had surrendered to the Japanese in the British British Indian Army, those people, and he created an army. He invaded India in the sense he crossed the border. He captured some parts and unfurled the flag of India in the northeast states of India. And he was, became a hero in India.
I mean, I do want to skip along, but people can follow you to find out more about that. I should just say in passing that Prince Charles's great mentor, Lord Mountbatten, allegedly killed by the IRA, you say that it was an agent de facto of his, in a sense, that killed Gandhi.
I don't say, yes, the assassin of Mahatma Gandhi, in my opinion, had links with Mountbatten, because his first attempt to assassinate Mahatma Gandhi on the 20th of January, 1948 was a fiasco. And instead of arresting him and putting him in jail, because it was clear he was caught red-handed, he was let go free. And then he comes back to New Delhi on the 27th of January, and then on 30th he fires on Gandhi. I don't know whether those bullets killed Gandhi or not. There's a big mystery on that. On the 30th, I'm holding a online discussion on how did Gandhi actually die. And of course, Mr. Godse, as he was known, did fire at point blank range bullets, but how many bullets he fired and all, those are controversies. But it's quite clear that Mr. Godse would not have got near Gandhi if it weren't for the complicity of Mr. Mountbatten.
Okay, well, obviously, we've covered on this show about how lots of Mountbatten's papers are still kept secret by the British government. Let's move on 75 years later. You have more poor than the whole of sub-Saharan Africa put together. You have a prime minister who had to back down finally after the largest strike in history. What did you make of these farm protests that ignited the poor and the consciousness of the poor all around the world?
As far as the farm laws that were passed, you can make a case that it was good reform. But the fact is that one part of India, not the whole of India, one part of India, namely Punjab, and some sympathizers in the western districts of UP, they were against the thing because it affected the minimum support prices they would be getting, which they were getting at a very high rate in Punjab. Punjab was a very prosperous area. Our government, and particularly the Prime Minister, was unnecessarily obstinate. I had written to him and suggested that those states where the BJP is ruling, you implement it there, because the Constitution has made it very clear that agriculture is the sole business of the states, and the center has nothing to do with agriculture. How Mr. Modi brought in these amendments was by the back door, because these taxes that are levied, even on agriculture, they're levied by the center. So in the name of reforming the tax collection, he created this reform. And the Sikhs are no mean characters. They are fighters. They fought very hard. They fought the emergency when Mrs. Gandhi was there, and they didn't back down. And so ultimately, Mr. Modi had to back down.
But rather than a matter of legislative minutiae, there is arguably something philosophical about neoliberal food policies. And actually, this relates to your increasing comments against China. China brought 800 million people out of poverty in the past, since Tiananmen Square. Can you not see that these sorts of farming reforms, as you call them, actually are the opposite of what China did and managed to use to policies that helped to feed hundreds of millions of people?
No. China abolished the commune system, permitted the farmers who were not previously permitted to sell their own produce, and if necessary, come to urban areas and sell them.
Yeah, but it didn't allow foreign companies to come into small farm holdings and take them over.
I don't think there has been an allowance for specifically foreign companies to come. What there is that there was a provision by which the Indian plutocrats or the big business could come in. And those are things that were uncalled for in the reforms. And I myself had objected to it. Because when you say that farmers need not sell it in the wholesale grain market, they can make direct contacts with the industrialists and make a contract and in fact grow what the industrialist wants you to grow. That was actually, in my opinion, a disaster. It shouldn't have been there in the first place.
I thought that's just BJP policy. Look at the COVID vaccines. I thought Bill Gates is very into India and the COVID vaccine.
Yes, but if it weren't for me, there would have been no Indian challenger. And the co-vaccine, because I'm on the Standing Committee of Parliament on Health, I was able to ram it through. In the beginning, when Mr. Prime Minister announced, he only announced that British AstraZeneca or whatever it's called. And then I had the meeting was there of the Standing Committee, and I made very, very stringent criticism. And I don't know whether in response to that or what, the Prime Minister at late night that same day also said that co-vaccine can do it. Now, co-vaccine is the only vaccine which I know has zero mortality rates. And
you're referring to the Indian vaccine, not the multinational attempt at trying to vaccinate the global south.
Well, that I don't think that co-vaccine produces enough to give it to too many people abroad. I have no report of any co-vaccine deaths that has been submitted to our committee. And if anyone can point out to that, I'd be happy to take it up.
Obviously, medicine always carries a risk. I think the point is 75 years on, Some might say that whether it be the vaccination, whether it be neoliberalizing the farming, whether it be the, what is this, $10 billion negotiated of arms from the United States, $22 billion from the US in arms over the past 10 years. A pawn against China is one allegation. India is basically a colonial subject of NATO and the IMF and World Bank. And Bill Gates, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I think we are not anything specific. That's the worst part. Either you should be in the Quad or you should be in the BRICS. But Mr. Modi is in both. And both sides keep inviting him, not that he achieves anything in that. I agree with you that we need to do a lot of our own production. And that was the slogan earlier on, self-reliance. And after Mr. Modi took over, the first dilution take place when we bought from the French, the Rafale planes. And then from the Soviet Union, Russia, we bought S-400. And now I think we are going to buy S-500 too. And now the Americans are upset. They're saying that, this is built with Chinese electronics and we can't give you our advanced weapons because there will be spying, so et cetera, et cetera. We are getting the worst of both worlds. We are not really doing it to the West. If you're saying that we are a junior partner of the West, that's wrong. We seem to be junior partner of practically both blocs.
And just finally, I better just very briefly put to you what has been, of course, said, that there is a genocide against Muslims and Christians continuing. I presume you reject the accusation.
Yes, I have. And I can tell you that to call it genocide is ridiculous. Yes, there have been riots, but this is not that has happened only in when we came to power, the BJP came to power. Mrs. Gandhi is saying, I can give you about 8, 9 where there have been horrific, targeted killing by Hindus. And in Assam, what about the targeted killing in Punjab with the Sikhs? Oh, there are plenty of examples, but these don't come into a term of genocide. It's not that there have been, it's maybe lack of finesse in using the police, lack of pre-preparations, foreseeing something is going to happen and do something about it, all that. But genocide in India, there's no place where it has happened. It's Western propaganda.
Dr. Subramanian Swamy, thank you. Over 180 million voters are eligible to vote in elections in India that begin in February, and that's it for the show. We'll be back on Saturday, 20 years to the day since President George W. Bush's State of the Union address, where he first used the term axis of evil before catastrophic NATO interventions in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya and Syria, illuminated by Julian Assange, who won a small legal victory on Monday to prevent him from dying in a US prison. Until then, keep in touch via all our social media and let us know what you think will be the result of India's upcoming elections. Thanks for watching this Going Underground interview. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications on to never miss an interview. Now it's your turn. Tell us what you think by commenting below and getting in touch via our social media. See you next time. All that is solid melts into air.